Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mio Anime Podcast. Doubleheader today, recapping UFC 323, which was the Merab versus Peter Yan card, which was surprising. Say what else you want about it. Shocking. And also predictions for the UFC Royval versus Kape card coming up from the UFC Apex on Saturday, December 13th. Anyways, why are we doing a double today? Well, partially because I'm going through some stuff right now on a medical level that is making it very, very hard to get these recordings done. Basically, there's a limited amount of time I can be sitting. I'm not going to go into terribly great details about it. If you want, they're over on my Disc. But suffice to say that there is a problem, medically speaking. Not dying, nothing serious, just a bit of a problem that for the next 2 months, probably till around late January, there's going to be just there's going to be a bit of an issue with like producing stuff, and as a result, the regularity may be impacted. And also, I'm probably going to film this episode in 2 sittings. So basically, the recap and then the prediction videos will be posted together, but they will be recorded at different times. Anyways, let's get the disclaimer out of the way. When we get to the picks, I will be talking about fight betting. I will be talking about things that could potentially assist you in your betting, and I will be talking about my own betting. However, MMA is a chaotic sport. You should not be betting what you cannot afford to lose. Moving on, let's get to recapping UFC 323. Now, the main event, Merab Dvalishvili, Peter Yan, mind blown. I had Merab winning the first round. I had the second round as a toss-up, and then 3, 4, and 5 for Yan. And that's the surprising thing, is that Peter Yan won this belt not by finishing Merab or even having like one big moment or like how should I put this? Losing most of the fight only to have like big moments where he hurt Merab, which is how I always thought Merab would lose the belt. No, he nullified his wrestling. He kept up in terms of the pace of the striking. The biggest strike differential that Merab was able to put up in any individual round was round 1, where he was plus 17. And round 2, where he was plus 16. And he got slammed in the third round, single-digit strike edges both ways. I mean, Yan outlanded him in the third round. Only the third round, admittedly, but in the third round, and the significant strikes outlanded him in the second, third, fourth, and fifth. That is insane, because that is not the way that anyone would have been picking Peter Yan to win the belt here against Merab. Shutting down the wrestling, keeping up with the pace, winning the late rounds, and getting stronger as the fight goes on. I mean, I guess that is a Peter Yan hallmark, but it's a Merab hallmark as well. And yeah, Merab couldn't get anything done. So there is an obvious thing we have to talk about here, which is that this was Merab's 4th fight in the year, I do believe. Yeah, he fought Umar, Sean O'Malley the second time, and Corey Sandhagen already this year. So could it be the fact that he can't really get up for his cardio-intensive style and, let's be honest, non-scientific weight cutting? As far as he bragged about this, so I feel like I can bring it up as a storyline. His non-scientific way of cutting weight is just not suited to fighting 4 times in a year. Maybe that's the case, but I mean, I still have to give all the credit to Peter Yan in the world, and the rematch has to have, like, people are talking about all kinds of different things to do here. Yan versus O'Malley is what Yan's pushing for, which I understand. I get that. That seems like a big fight, and that's also a loss he would like to get back. He's trying to use the idea that, like, he lost to Merab and now he's beaten Merab, so time to avenge all those losses. But realistically, in a sporting sense, Merab should be getting a rematch. You know, they're 1-1, and like, am I the only one that has no interest in seeing O'Malley in like title fights? It's not even like my lack of interest in O'Malley, because I find O'Malley an interesting fighter. It's just, as a title fight guy, I don't think the depth of like skill and game planning is there. Like, I'm quite happy to see him fight guys who are, you know, top 10 in the world, but have them go out there and have fun fights as opposed to being like an actual repetitive title challenger. And if they do, they will probably do the O'Malley fight. Just because, well, I mean, case in point, we're getting Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett for a title. So they'll ignore the fact that O'Malley's on a 2-fight losing skid and hasn't beaten anybody since losing the title. Granted, he's only fought Merab since losing the title, but still, he should have to go out there and actually get a win. I'm just saying. The other option I could see is like Umar versus Peter Yan for the belt. I could see that. That would make a level of sense, particularly if there's some difficulty getting the Yan and Merab schedules to line up properly. But please God, not the O'Malley one. And then we also had another new champion crowned as Joshua Van defeated Alexandre Pantoja. Part of me is really, really happy about this because I'm a big Joshua Van fan. And I'm not going to judge him for the celebrating the win the way he got it. Because it's in the moment the dude just become champion. I am not going to judge anything about that exchange. However, the fight didn't tell us anything. He caught one of Pantoja's kicks, and Pantoja goes to post on his arm, and he breaks it. I mean, like 8 strikes were landed in this fight, and there was not a knockout recorded in the conventional sense. So I don't really know what I'm supposed to do here, other than say these guys should have a rematch. But I also assume Pantoja will be out for a while, and that they'll probably get the Horiguchi title shot in the meantime with Joshua Van. So. Congratulations on the win, but I just don't think the banner. This is very much Vitor Belfort winning the belt at UFC 45 against Randy Couture in a manner that it told us jack and nothing, and then Randy went and beat up Vitor Belfort at UFC 49 later on. So that's the only thing I can compare it to. I'm gonna enjoy it while it lasts. And it may legitimately last longer. I mean, like, I could see ways that Van was going to win this fight. Like, I was very, very interested in this fight. Very, very interested in a potential rematch. Very interested in a fight with Horiguchi. So, like, going forward, there's a lot of intrigue, but it's just, it is the most champion by default or by technicality that the UFC right now has. That's all I'm saying. So, not going to judge Van. That's cool. That's fine. But I'm not going to put a lot of stock into the win. So, there you go. Not much else. Literally, really nothing else to say about that fight. Not much at all. I'm trying to think of something. But, like, I honestly, I've got nothing. Other than to say that the Horiguchi title shot, if it does happen, and it should, is horribly mishandled by the UFC right now. So there is that. Brandon Moreno lost to Tetsuya Taira, and Taira went out there and did his thing. Moreno was unable to get like anything going in round 1 or round 2, and eventually he gets the crap beat out of him. I don't have a lot else to say. Gets him down, gets the back, pounds him out. Maybe a tad bit quick on the stoppage, but I'm fine with it. And, yeah. Oh, I guess the other thing to say about the Van fight, the commentary team was being, like, really oddly combative with Megan O'Leary, because Megan O'Leary was reporting that it was a shoulder injury, apparently. They're like, no, it was definitely the elbow. I'm like, if you just post on a desk or something for yourself and realize that the stress you're feeling in your elbow, you also feel in your shoulder. So it's entirely on the table that he messed up his shoulder. So that was awkward. That's about all I have to say. It was a good performance. Peyton Talbot did his thing against Henry Cejudo. I don't have a ton else to say on that. Cejudo did some of the things that you would want to see in this particular fight, but also at the same time, not really. Just like not active enough, not aggressive enough with the wrestling. 1 for 7 on takedowns. Didn't get them when he went for them, but the chase wasn't there. It's a great scout for Talbot, but it's also one that I'm probably going to look back with like a certain grain of salt to say that it felt more like Cejudo was a bit done as opposed to Talbot has made massive steps forward. That being said, Talbot has made steps forward. I want to be clear on that. It's just I don't want to blow them out of proportion, which I saw people doing after the Lima fight, and I assume people will do again. But like, I appreciate that he's definitely working on the things that Barcelos exploited to get the win against him. I will say the UFC's rankings to put him above Barcelos is pretty lame, because it's not like Barcelos has had a step back, since. Don't get me wrong, Cody Garbrandt and Ricky Simone are not really hot commodities right now. Again, the UFC fumbling Barcelos, but neither is Felipe Lima and the very end of the road, Henry Cejudo. That's not really the case either. And then we had Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Gushkov, which went in a lot of ways according to plan. If you look at rounds 1 and round 3, that's what I thought would happen with that fight, is that Blachowicz actually, despite the fact that the danger is limited, the dynamicism is limited, the blitzes are limited nowadays, he still has a well-structured striking game. And Gushkov couldn't really solve it in the first or the third. And in the second, he did. He hit Blachowicz really, really hard, knocked him down, got some work done, got a 10-8 round on at least 2 judges' scorecards. I'm not sure if it should have been a 10-8. Now, I will say this, and I've said this a number of times, I absolutely think that should be a 10-8 round. I'm just saying that based on how stingy the judges have been with 10-8 rounds, I don't know if it really should have been a 10-8 round. I think at the end of the day, based on the standards of the day, Judge Junichiro Kamijo, who scored it for Blachowicz, I believe, is the correct judge here. But yeah, he did stomp him quite hard, outlanded him 2-1, put him on his back for like 4 minutes plus of the round, and scored a knockdown. So I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. So I don't know. I think I think it was bang on. It's just like Blachowicz is an old man, and Gushkov took advantage of that in round 2 and got to work through some of Jan's kind of like silly ideas. He was going for a heel hook in the second round, which I thought was dumb because it was letting him get kind of blasted in the face in the process, and it really wasn't there. I know Gushkov is a bad grappler, or at least is shown to be a pretty underwhelming grappler. But yeah, that was not great. Like, it was locked in at one point, but Gushkov seemed very, very unbothered with it and just kind of did his thing. So, he gets a draw, and I don't know. Is that like kind of the worst result possible? Because he didn't get the win, and he lost 2 of the rounds on all judges' scorecards. So I don't know. Is this beneficial for Gushkov? I don't know. It's better for him than a loss, but I imagine that the UFC tends to hate draws. That's part of the reason that they discourage 10-8s as much as they do. Had a loss in the Manuel Torres versus Grant Dawson fight. It went the way that it could go. He got knocked down and got killed. I don't have much else to say. If you let me go back in time and redo the pick, I'd still probably take Dawson. But Manuel Torres is very, very dangerous as a fighter, very good action fighter. I still think that there's a bit too much recklessness to him that people will exploit, but I mean, the dude is now 4-1 in the or 5-1 in the UFC with all first round stoppages. That's a guaranteed banger. I'm here for it. His fights with Chris Duncan. Well, okay, the Duncan fight was a little too short to be like terribly interesting, but like, Nicholas Mota, Frank Camacho, Grant Dawson, Drew Dober. These are all fun fights, and I look forward to more. It's just, I do question that if somebody gets into the deeper exchanges with him, if they'll just win. Case in point, Terrence McKinney, Chris Duncan. Terrence McKinney looks good early. He always looks good early. He does the deed, and then he gets knocked down and submitted. And a caught a choke for Chris Duncan. So that one went perfectly. Macy Barber versus Karine Silva was basically what I thought it would be. Silva put Barber in trouble a few times on the ground. Probably did a little bit better than I thought she would, but like at the end of the day, doesn't really have the volume striking, doesn't really have the power striking, doesn't really have her own takedowns. Although she did go 2 for 3, so I guess that's not bad. But a lot of the ground exchanges that she got advantages for were initiated by Barber. So it's the classic problem that realistically I think Silva would lose to just about everyone in the division if they just don't grapple with her, or if they're not like ridiculously physically inferior to her, because she is a very good athlete and can do a lot of good things. Like there's building blocks, there's potential, but it's never been molded into anything because Frankly, I think her coaches are kind of garbage. Faris Ziam embarrassed Nazim Sadikov, much to my chagrin, because I picked Sadikov to win. I've warned everyone though. I don't have a grasp on Faris Ziam, and I need to just give up on picking his fights. I need to just every time my gut is like, don't pick Faris Ziam, I need to just punch it, just torture it with some Mexican food or something, because it's leading me astray repetitively. Sadikov had nothing here. He was taken down. He was controlled on the ground. He was dropped. He was hurt. Yeah, no, this was a pasting. And congratulations to Faris Ziam. Your run in the UFC has been incredible. It's been one where I've been wrong repetitively picking your fights. But yeah, he's now on a 6-fight winning streak, having beaten Mikhail Figlak, Jai Herbert, Claudio Puelles, Matt Favola, Mike Davis, Nazim Sadikov. He does have that loss to Terrence McKinney. He does have that random loss to Don Madge. But Don Madge, as much as he's not a very good fighter, is a huge guy. So I guess that's fine. And then before that, we had Bruno Ferreira versus Marvin Vettori, which this sucked. I have no issue with Ferreira winning or whatever, but no one should want to see Bruno Ferreira win a decision. And it was just sad seeing Marvin Vettori, not be Marvin Vettori. He's forgotten what actually gets him wins, what actually could be a pathway to victory for him. And as long as that is the case, the thing is it's not that he's fallen off physically. He's still incredibly durable. He still has cardio. He still is as fast and powerful as he ever was. The problem was he was never fast and never powerful. He has to outwork people. He has to fight high pace. He has to be a high volume guy, willing to eat one to deliver three, and he's just not now. So he did outland Vettori or Ferreira 90-77 per UFC stats, but outside of the third round, which I did give to him, there wasn't a significant edge in our activity. And that's the thing, is that if you look at Marvin Vettori's win counts, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong here, what is the smallest number of strike advantage he's had in a win? Okay, he was outstruck by Kevin Holland. But he also took down Kevin Holland 11 times and outworked him 152 to 138. That's kind of a weird one. But otherwise, yeah, he's basically got to outland you by 30, 40 strikes. Otherwise, he loses. I guess the only exception is Vitor Miranda back in the day, who he outlanded by all of 7 strikes. That would be the only exception to that. He's just got to do more. He's scared of being what he needs to do to win. I picked him to win this fight just because I didn't trust Vettori's cardio or Ferreira's cardio. And, I learned that he can keep up a ho-hum pace for 2 rounds and not completely fall apart in the 3rd round, but that's about all I learned. Jalen Turner whooped on an old man. He beat up Edson Barboza in a big way, and the commentary on this one was very weird because it was like they were begging Turner not to retire again. They're like, he still has so much to offer, and it's just then pay the man. just pay the. Don't fault fighters for not wanting to fight for peanuts. I don't know what to say about this. Ebal Aslan versus Io Baraneski was fantastic. In a bad way, don't get me wrong. 3 knockdowns in 1 minute and a half is insane. Multiple knockings. It was the definition of a I didn't hear no goddamn bell fight. And Baraneski won. I'm not sure it tells me much other than dude can recover from a hit. I don't know if he can necessarily take a hit, but he can recover from a hit. Mansour Abdul Malik just beat up Antonio Tricoli. We expected that. No surprises there. Moving on. Myron Santos knocked out Muhammad Naimov. That was surprising. So I don't know. Santos and Faris Ziam are maybe the 2 fighters I really have to stop underestimating as it goes on, because the first round was very, very competitive. Round 2 was Santos taking over, and then he finished him in the 3rd round. So fantastic work. Can't really say much else. I still can't not look at him at weigh-ins and think that there's not a correct process going on there. But I just need to get over that and start picking him to win fights. Anyways, let's move on to the Apex card, and the sound quality may change because I'll probably have to reposition the microphone. All right, so let's talk about UFC Apex here. The last card of the year, sending the year out in style. Not really because it's an Apex card, but by the standards of an Apex card, it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty solid one. You got a main event that I think actually has meaning, particularly in the Pantoja not holding the title flyweight division. You've got an action fight in the co-main event, which is pretty cool. You've got some interesting prospects on here. There are some stinkers. I'm not really looking forward to any of the 3 heavyweight fights on the card, but ideally they'll be quick and we won't have to worry about them for too long. It'll just be like, go out there, bonk, and that's it. But I don't know, because with the exception of the Buchecha versus Nzechukwu fight, the other two are fights I don't really have a lot of confidence that I know that the other fighters are good. Like, Buchecha is a great grappler, and Kennedy Nzechukwu is a perfectly fine fighter, but the other 4, God knows. Plus, we have a Neil Magny fight. Anyways, let's get into the card here. Brandon Royval versus Vitor Kape. Royval coming in as the underdog at plus 210 to plus 250, minus 275 to minus 335 on Kape. Not really sure why the line is that great because, don't get me wrong here, Vitor Kape is the flashier fighter. He's on the hotter streak fighter as well. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, having beaten Asu Almabayev and Bruno Silva, whereas he's facing Brandon Royval, who has lost his last fight to Joshua Van. But before that, also did beat Tyra and Brandon Moreno. Granted, a Brandon Moreno that did not look very good at all, and has since not looked very good against Tyra. I don't know, there's a way this fight, there's I think 3 ways this fight goes. Option A is that it is a stand-up banging brawl where Royval comes forward and makes Kape fight him, because Kape's frustration has always been that he is this counter-pressure fighter that is, when left to his own devices, very low output. Very sharp, very powerful, very dynamic, very dangerous, but very low output, very kind of dull. And that's why he's had some stinkers, in a nutshell. Royval in his classic, OG form, is a guy who just doesn't let that happen. He's going to go in there and he's going to get in your face and you're going to start delivering. It's more akin to the Felipe Dos Santos fight that Vitor Kape had that was actually pretty entertaining and pretty fun. Or even something like the... what's a good example? Well, Bruno Silva would be a good example as well also of this. Guys who are just going to go in there and kind of make things happen. And it's not that Kape can't fight at a high pace, it's that he just doesn't willingly do it. He has to be, I don't want to say tricked into doing it because it's never been a way of beating him, but he has to be bullied into doing it, I guess. And option B, which is the more likely one, is Brandon Royval does his leaf blower thing, where it's a lot of volume, but it's at range. It's just touching him. It's not really engaging him. It's not making Kape have easy counters and engagement triggers. And that's the kind of fighter that I think Royval is trying to become. I think that was the type of fighter that he was trying to be against Joshua Van. It's just that Van was beating him up badly when he was trying to do that. And as a result, he had to go back to Brandon Royval 1.0. But he was also very disappointed in himself for doing that. So I assume he's going to come out with that same strategy against Kape. And we'll probably get the duller version of a Vitor Kape fight where he does pressure Royval. He probably lands the better shots, probably lands the crisper shots, probably lands the more damaging shots. But at the end of the day, he's just getting out-volumed and outworked. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Royval by decision. I am cheering for the Kape win because as much as I dislike him, when he's an interesting fighter, when he's exciting, when he's winning and being cool, he is really, really fun to watch. And I hope for that. But I will sadness hedge on the underdog Royval. You're giving me underdog Royval odds, and you're giving me the sadness hedge odds. We're going to roll with it. Giga Chikadze versus Kevin Viejas. Is it Viejas? I can never remember. I guarantee you I will get it wrong whenever I say it. But anyways, well, I won't guarantee because I'll probably swap up the process here and at some point get it right. But I'm not going to know that I am right. I've got to pick Viejas here. He is a minus 300, minus 375 favorite, plus 235 to plus 280 on Giga Chikadze. It is a massive step up for him. His best win is Danny Silva, so going to Giga Chikadze from that is huge. It's massive. It's exceptional. That being said, I think that at 37 years old, Giga Chikadze is somebody who can just be outworked. If you're willing to push up a pace against him and you're willing to be aggressive and you're willing to push the action against him, you generally can beat him. He's very, very dangerous, don't get me wrong. But if you look at his wins, it's Alex Caceres, a guy who's just going to kind of let you do your thing. It's Edson Barboza, who has a very similarly flawed game. It's Cub Swanson, who he knocked out in 1 minute 3 seconds, and also it's Cub Swanson in 2021. And then we got Jamie Simmons, Omar Morales, Erwin Rivera. Like, you have to go back to like Jamal Emmers and Brandon Davis for fights that were guys that were going to pile up volume and like actually make engagements happen repetitively. And those fights both were split decisions 5 and 6 years ago. So it's hard to really go with Giga, despite the presence of the Giga kick, the sharp striking, and the fact that he is a 6 foot tall featherweight. But I'm assuming that Vijayos will just fight him the way that he should. And that can get me in trouble, obviously, because we have seen fighters just completely screw that up. But I'm going to say that he does. Also, Giga has issues with cardio. That's only going to get worse with time. He's 37 years old, didn't have good cardio to begin with. It's only getting worse. So, yeah, I got to go with Vijayos by decision here. And should be a pretty fun fight. I'll say that much. Cesar Almeida versus Cezary Oleksiejczuk, the second Oleksiejczuk brother. Disclaimer on this one. Number one, that I historically like fighters who fight the way that Oleksiejczuk does, aggressive and pursuing the action both as a wrestler and a striker. And I historically do not like the Cesar Almeida approach of being relatively low pot-shotting and counter-based. But it has worked for Almeida. But at the same time, he was also out-wrestled by Roman Kopylov, which is a really bad sign because Kopylov is not a good offensive wrestler. At least he's not known for it, I guess. You could argue that he actually had some success against Hobokop with the counter wrestling, but it's still not a strong part of his game. And as much as I have concerns about Oleksiejczuk, a lot of his wins are over guys who are, how should I put this, kind of past their best. Tom Breese, in particular, Chris Fishgold, who I have no idea why he was up at 185, but he's also beaten Piotr Strus. Like, he hits hard, he's aggressive, he works a lot of volume, and he'll force action and mix in wrestling, which I think should be a way to beat Almeida, but like Almeida could also detonate him with a counter shot. That's on the table, because Cesar Almeida is a very dangerous counter striker. It's just, that's kind of the only thing he does. And I don't like betting on it. And I said disclaimer earlier, because my record on picking Almeida fights is actually kind of poor, because I think I picked him to beat Kopylov, and that didn't happen. But like, I picked Dylan Budke to beat him in his debut, which I feel really bad about, because Dylan Budke is terrible. That was a mistake. That was a massive mistake. Actually, I guess now that I think about it, I'm not that far off, because I picked him to beat Ihor and Abdul Razak Al Hassan. So I guess I'm not that bad. But yeah, I am going to go with Oleksiejczuk to win here. It just wouldn't surprise me in general. I'm going to go with a TKO. A submission really would seem like the better way to beat Almeida, but Oleksiejczuk doesn't really seem inclined to actually go for submissions. He seems inclined to poundy or throw hands. So I'm going to assume that is how he ends up winning this fight. Odds-wise, plus 165 to plus 180 on Almeida, minus 200, minus 230 on Oleksiejczuk. Very reasonable. I thought the previous two fights were a little bit too wide. This one feels a little bit more correct. Morgan Charrier versus Melchiel Costa. This is another one that I have to go with a disclaimer for, but I don't trust Charrier. Now, granted, that has led to me generally picking against him at the right times, in a lot of ways, Nathaniel Wood most notably. But it also led to me picking Nate Landwehr against him, and that didn't happen. So when I pick Melchiel Costa, do keep that in mind. My problem with Charrier is he has all the physical tools and all the technical tools actually to be an amazing fighter. Like, I mean top tier, I mean top 10, I mean championship contender. But the mental tools are not there. He's far too lackadaisical with his fights. He will let volume get away from him. He will kind of just do dumb things that he could get away with on the regional scene by being a super athlete. And there's a reason he has a bunch of random split decision losses on the regional scene. It's just he doesn't do enough. His mental conception of fighting is, all right, I did something cool, and therefore I won. You did not do something cool. And it's like, but you got outlanded 5-2. Like you need to understand this. You need to have some concept of that. It's not just do a cool thing per round and win. And he could finish Melchiel Costa. It's not impossible. Kostic has been finished before. But there is also a chance that Costa, who's not very good at necessarily initiating action, might just not be able to repetitively force action on Charrier. But, like, I think he will. And I think he'll just it'll be the classic, like, we come out of the fight going, like, Charrier is a far, far better fighter than Costa, but you didn't do enough. And that's kind of every single Charrier loss. So I am going to go with Costa by decision. He is the favorite, so people are kind of with me. I mean, it's the even money fight, minus 110 to minus 150, minus 105 to minus 115 on Charrier. So, like, even money. But technically, Costa is the favorite. But, yeah, I'll go Costa. I'll feel better about it if Costa wins. Like, if Charrier wins, I mean, it's cool. It's cool to watch. I'm fine with it. Kennedy and Zekachu versus Marcos Buchecha in a heavyweight fight. Kennedy is the favorite, minus 130 to minus 140. Buchecha plus 106 to plus 110. Listen, I know that Zekachu lost by knee bar last time out heel hook, to Walter Walker. And Buchecha is a phenomenal grappler. I don't think this can be exasperated enough. Might be legitimately one of the best, if not the best, heavyweight grappler in the history of the UFC in pure grappling. The problem is, against guys who have actually not wanted to grapple with him, he's looked bad. And that Martin Buday fight in particular was really bad. That there's just not actually a lot to his takedown game. There's not a lot of actual get this fight to the ground capability for Buchecha. And that's why I'm going to go with Kennedy by TKO, because I mean he's a competent defensive wrestler. He's a big guy. He's got a long range. He's 6'5", with an 83-inch reach. He actually can control the range. He actually can stop takedowns. It's not impossible to get him down. Devin Clark did it, for example. But you have to be like pretty persistent about it, and you will fail a number of times. And Buchecha gassed out trying to take down Buday. And it's like, don't get me wrong, Buday was a terrible matchup for Buchecha, and I don't know what they were doing. I think I said this at the time. I don't know what you're doing by making this fight, but it really did point out a significant problem. So I'm gonna go with Nzechukwu by TKO, but if Buchecha grabs a heel hook, I'm not going to be shocked. Like it's a winnable fight, but it just doesn't feel good to be picking a guy who, at least so far in his UFC run, has seemed very, very, very flawed and limited. Bobby Green versus Lance Gibson Jr. This is a late notice fight, and frankly, I kind of just have to go with Bobby Green. This doesn't feel like a fight that he generally loses. It's a wrestling heavy game plan, which is still not what has beaten him historically. Like, he did knock out Grant Dawson. I'm questioning Green's ability to see strikes coming, and I'm questioning his ability to take shots and his durability, but I still don't question his takedown defense. I still don't question his offensive boxing. So, yeah, I'm picking a 39-year-old. Yeah, that makes me nervous, but Lance Gibson Jr. has just never really beaten anybody good. His only good fighter is that he's fought was Tokov, and Tokov kind of wasted him. So, I will be cheering for Lance Gibson Jr. because I've met his father. We're not a couple times actually, and he was always very, very nice to me. So I am fully here for the Lance Gibson Jr. win. I just I don't actually think it's going to happen. I think his run in the UFC is going to be problematic because he is kind of reliant on takedowns while not being a super stud wrestler. So I guess, I don't know, maybe he can have a Gamrot-esque run, but we'll see. Green by decision, because Green is not historically a finisher. Somehow he got that reputation for a little bit where he knocked out Grant Dawson and also had finished Tony Ferguson. But and there was a Drew Dober knockout in there as well. No, Dober knocked him out, right? But he hurt Dober badly. But he couldn't finish Jim Miller in 2024. He couldn't finish Nasrat Haqparast in 2022. He did knock out Al Ali Quinta, which is very wrong. But decision with Alan Patrick, Landon Venata, a very old Clay Guida. You get where I'm saying with this. Picking him by stoppage is never something I'm going to feel good about. Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robertson is next up. Oh, did I give odds? Minus 200 to minus 245 on Green and plus 164 to plus 190 on Gibson. Robertson versus Lemos. I will say I think the betting public is maybe a little bit too positive on Robertson. She's a minus 188 to minus 205 with a favor of being a sub winner to Lemos just plus 150 to plus 165. I am going to pick Robertson by decision. Now, the reason I say that is just because she is she is well, it's really about Lemos. Lemos is hard to take down in the sense that she's strong. She's hard to manhandle. She's woman handle in this case. She's hard to actually get down, but she doesn't terminate wrestling exchanges. And Robertson is somebody who will really chase the chain wrestling sequences and eventually get there if you cannot terminate them, if you do not have a way of getting away from her. And Lemos really doesn't. That being said, on the ground, I expect Robertson to have the advantage, but I think people undersell how hard Lemos is to work. I mean, I know she got submitted by Verna Jandiroba by armbar, but that's not really how Robertson submits people. And I know she got submitted by Jessica Andrade really quickly, but like, that's Jessica Andrade. That's a monster. She was on the ground for a large part of the fights with Weili Zhang and Tatiana Suarez and made the distance. So, I'm going to predict the same to happen here. It's a dangerous fight. If Robertson can't find takedown, she's going to lose. But that's the classic Robertson problem. So, Joe Anderson Brito versus Isaac Thompson. I don't have much to say about this one. Thompson's a perfectly fine late signing, but you're bringing somebody in on late notice to fight Joe Anderson Brito, who is born for the late notice win because, let's be honest, there's not a lot to his game that involves calibration or fine-tuning. He's going to go out there and he's probably honestly going to fight Isaac Thompson about the same way that he was going to fight Melchik Bogdasarian, because that's what he does to everybody. He is a power ball of mean, ill intent. And I haven't seen anything from Thompson that says that he can deal with that, or anything that traditionally is a team alpha male thing to do that either, because it's not like Brito hasn't beaten somebody from team alpha male before, and somebody who has like a kind of similar game, Andre Fili. So. Or you could also say like the Jonathan Pierce fight. So yeah, I do have to go for Brito. This is not a Weston Wilson type scenario where he's facing off against somebody who's just like absolutely terrible, but it's just not somebody that necessarily has the complexity or the row bump ability to take out Brito. And then we get to odds. Brito is a actually bettable favorite at minus 230 and minus 275, plus 180 to plus 210 for Thompson. I will probably be betting on that one. Neil Magny versus Yaroslav Amosov. Please, God, please, praying to the fight gods, let Amosov win this fight. Because number one, the Bellator jinx has been real with Patchy Mix, and I'm horrified by it. But Amosov is not a guy who has the mix problem, where it's like you're just really, really big, and you maybe don't have much of a really developed game. But I'm still worried. I'm still worried that he'll fall into the Neil Magny curse. Amosov is a low kicker. Magny is very, very open to being low kicked. Amosov is a good cardio grappler and wrestler. So theoretically, as long as he doesn't freak out and get nervous, he should be fine to grapple with Neil Magny if it comes down to that. And he did get knocked out by Jason Jackson, who's a tall guy, but Jason Jackson's got a lot more dynamicism and power and striking technique than Neil Magny. So I am hoping that he looks at a guy who's 6'3" and has an 80-inch reach and doesn't freak out, doesn't panic, doesn't like on the first couple of jabs be like, okay, I don't want to strike with this guy. No, beat up his legs, work combinations, do your thing. Magny is not a great striker. Please, God, Yaroslav Amosov, take this man apart. And it's nothing against Neil Magny, although I do dislike him for some personal reasons. It's that I'm always frustrated when somebody fails to do this. I will never stop being frustrated when we see Neil Magny beat some kid that he should not beat, or some fighter he should not beat. In this case, it's like he's 38 years old. Just beat him up. Just beat him up, please. Anyways, I've got Amosov by decision. He is a prohibitive favorite, though, at minus 400 to minus 450, plus 300 plus 340 on Magny. Sean Seraph versus Stephen Asplet. I don't have a lot to say about this fight. It's a heavyweight prospect fight, although that's a stretched word with Seraph being 32 years old. Seraph's got decent hand speed, but he doesn't seem to like really have put much together. He seems like a very hobbyist, a guy who's been training at the gym and, enjoys it, but like there's not a lot of, for lack of a better term, meanness to him. And that's why I got to go with Asplet. He's a lot clumsier of the two, a big brute, but like he is mean. He wants to hurt you, and he's going to be aggressive about it. And I'm going to take it by TKO. But like, I don't know. Whenever we're seeing heavyweight prospects, who the heck knows? I think I said that about the Denzel Freeman versus I'm blanking on the name of the Polish dude that he beat, the Marcin Tybura clone. Yeah, we'll go with Asplin. He's the favorite, minus 225 to minus 250, plus 175 to plus 195 for the Seraph. Don't bet on this fight. I don't know. Just don't touch this. Don't touch this division. Luana Santos versus Melissa Croden. I have always had a lot of concerns about Santos because when she came in, she seemed like somebody who was going to have a real hard time making weight. And then she missed weight at 135 and it was like, wow. Anyway, she's at 135 now. She's making weight. She's aggressive. She's got a good top game. She's got some decent striking. It's not nuanced. It's not technically sound, but it works well into her clinch takedown game, I guess. And Croden is kind of the same. They both beat Tainara Lisboa, so that's weird. But yeah, Croden's best thing that she has is when she gets on top, she actually has really good ground and pound. And the problem is I don't see her getting on top. I don't see her getting takedowns against Santos, and I don't see her sweeping Santos. So I got to go with Santos by decision. She's 25 years old, and I'm hoping to see improvements, basically. Every time Santos comes out, I'm hoping to see improvements that make her better and better, and that the incredibly bleak future of this division gets like a little bit brighter, I guess. We also have another fight. No, it's a 125 fight. Damn. I was hoping for 2 135 fights. Because if they go well, I'm instantly like slightly interested in the division again. Santos by decision. She's the favorite, minus 121 to minus 138. Crone's minus 103 to plus 112. I'd say both of those are bettable lines, actually. Like it's their best wins are essentially the same girl. Alan Fry versus Guillermo Pat. Same thing I said about the Seraph Asplin fight, basically. I don't know what to make of either of these guys. Fry's got the actual legitimate win between the two. He beat Justin Fraser. I have slightly more faith in Pat's cardio, but he also seems to be a lesser hitter. And I'll take Fry by TKO, but it's a toss-up. Do not bet on this fight. Fry is plus 140 to plus 142, minus 165 to minus 177 on Pat. And then we have Teresa Bleda versus Jamie Lynn Horth, which is the opener. I have to go with Bleda by decision here. Essentially, Horth has 3 different types of fights. Option A, and this is exemplified by the Vanessa Demopoulos fight, where she's fighting somebody else who is not a particularly good athlete, because Horth is a fine athlete, but she's not a great athlete. And she's able to just win through being a hard worker and being pretty well-rounded, having a good wrestle boxer game and, some clinch work and so on. She could do that. Option 2 is they can be physical, but they're like really, really flawed and completely useless. I'm looking at you, Haley Cowan, and I'm looking at you, Ivana Petrovich. And she can win those fights. She can just kind of crush, even though she's facing somebody who's probably a better athlete. And then she loses to the actual put together fighters, Miranda Maverick, Veronica Hardy. Bleda is not really neatly fitting into any of those 3 categories. She's huge, she's physical, she's rough around the edges and needs refinement, but she's 24 years old, and I'm hoping to see that refinement, I guess. And yeah, I just see her being able to get takedowns and being able to do her scramble thing. She's got stunningly good cardio for someone who's massive and is 5'9" and fighting at 125, because I'm begging this girl to go to bantamweight at some point, because I can't imagine how that weight cut is working. It is working, but I can't imagine how it's working. Yeah, we'll go with Bleda. She's the better athlete. She's the better wrestler. She's got more upside. Horth is a excellent, level testing fighter, like for the UFC level. She's going to make it hard. She's going to make it grimy. She's going to make it tough. But the fact that when she wins, it's usually by split decision is a bit of a problem in general. I think it's split decision. I'm thinking that she lost by split decision or that she won by split decision. I'm trying to remember this now. No, she won. Well, she won by split decision against Petrov. She went unanimous decision against Cowan and Demopoulos, but yeah, and lost a unanimous decision to Maverick and a split decision to Hardy. They're all close fights, so it'll be interesting. It'll be entertaining. But I guess maybe I'm a little bit just on the hype train for Bleda because there's something there, and there is it for Horth. But go Canada. And surprising number of Canadians on this card. This has got to be, outside of like a fight card actually in Canada, one of the most Canadian heavy cards we have. We have Lance Gibson Jr., Jillian Robertson, Melissa Croden, and Jamie Lynn Horth. Who was Bobby Green supposed to fight before Lance Gibson came in? No, this is just like a super late booking. Right. Bogdasarian and Yasmin Lucindo were the two that pulled out of this card. Lucindo was supposed to fight Robertson, which was going to be a pretty good fight. And instead we have Lemos. Which might actually be a harder fight, now that I think about it. But it is, it's probably a little bit less interesting. Anyways, that is it. Check out the social media down below. I'll be hopefully back for the recap of the Apex card. And that's about it. No offense. I need to get up and I need to stop sitting down.